Rather lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to brand new video. We're going to be diving into the latest around Arsenal. There are so many stories to dive into, especially now that Arsenal are very close to signing MUDRYK. A fee has been agreed, a structure has not yet been agreed, according to Fabrizio Romano. We're also going to be diving into the salary structure, how much is going to be earning, and how long the contract is going to be. We'll be talking about Rafinha, Balde. Chelsea are out of the race to sign MUDRYK because they were never ever willing to pay £88 million for the young Ukrainian winger. I'm going to be diving into all that. Hit the like button for me, subscribe to the podcast as well. And there is a question in the comment section. Now, we've not signed Joao Felix. He's gone to Chelsea because we were not willing to pay 11 million euros in terms of a loan fee. Bright, brilliant decision from Edu. I love it. I just love it. I just love it when we make cautious decisions that are actually financially, sensible. But then also, I think if you're signing a player for 11 million euros with no option to buy, with no obligation to buy, it is just nonsensible. And Edu has decided not to do that. So, which other player should Arsenal focus on, or which other player should we focus on in January, apart from MUDRYK? The priority, according to Fabrizio Romano, has always been MUDRYK. The Arsenal board are unshaken with Joao Felix signing for Chelsea. They know the player they want, that is MUDRYK. Mikel Arteta has already told them that he is the priority in this project. So which other player do you think Arsenal should go for? It cannot be Danilo, because if it looks like Danilo is going to sign for Nottingham Forest. And of course, we'll be diving into that story as well, because I'm quite disappointed. I thought we had a very big lead in that one as well. But hit the like button for me. Let's get this video to 500 likes and subscribe to the podcast as well. Now, let's get into it. First and foremost, Arsenal have agreed a 5-year deal with MUDRYK. He's going to be earning 127,000 per week. That is according to HITC. That is confirmed. 5 years, he will be staying with us. 127,000 per week. That is 7.5 million euros per year. The player will be earning, and I presume that is before taxes. I think after taxes, he will be earning around either 6.5 or 6 million euros per year. Now, I've been looking at HITC and how they have actually, broken this money down, and they say it's a very good deal for us. No, I also think it's a very good deal for us, because at 21, if he's coming in on a 5-year deal, and he's going to be earning 127. The likes of Martinelli, the likes of Saka, the likes of William Saliba, this is the level, this is the amount of money we are trying to give them. So if Mikhailo comes in, he gets that amount of money. It's not. I feel it is not actually so outstretched. Martinelli can get 150k per week. Then that means Saka can get something like 170k, and William Saliba will eventually have to agree to something between 150 and 180. As well. So I like the fact that it is not actually highly inflated. Look, in January, like I said, you've got to convince players to be attractive. You need to give them the money they want. You're going to need to flirt with them a little bit, more in terms of finances and all that. You've got to be the sugar daddy, right? But 127k before taxes, that is nice. That is absolutely very nice, and I agree with that. So it's not. I don't think it will bring a lot of chaos on the wage structure in Arsenal. I think Odegaard will be slightly above this at around 170k, and all these new contracts that Arsenal negotiating are actually going to have this as a baseline. So that is nice. Of course, personal terms were never expected to be a problem. Romano said he can agree personal terms with Arsenal within 2 seconds. And that is how desperate he is to join the club. And that is how obsessed he is with Mikel Arteta's project and everything. He's already said no to Chelsea. He's already told Shakhtar, that is not where I want to go. That is not where I would be heading. And that is why Todd Boehly has done a very crazy transfer. He's ran and gone to Atletico Madrid and agreed a deal that financially makes no sense. If it doesn't flop, maybe Chelsea fans will be like, okay, we've got the money and we spent it. But if it flops, 11 million euros for 6 months without salary, and it flops, that would be the worst transfer Chelsea or a Premier League team has ever done, and I don't see why. I really don't see why. They still have 20 days to the end of the window. They had a lot of time. But anyway, the big story again here, guys, is that TalkSport, Alex Crook, and ESPN's James Ollie have both confirmed that the player will be signing for Arsenal. Now, what I actually liked about this one is that Alex Crook actually didn't add a lot when he said that he will be signing for Arsenal. He just put it there. He said, I think that this will happen. Negotiations are still ongoing. I know that Chelsea's name keeps on being bandied around, but he wants to join Arsenal. Mikel Arteta is very keen to sign him. I think the two clubs are getting very, very close, and it will eventually happen. So that is according to Alex Crook on TalkSport. And look, in terms of breaking stories, I don't think I would really say TalkSport is the biggest story breaker in the transfer world. But in terms of credibility, Alex Crook is a very, very credible source. He's one man that when he says something, he either has some big lead on it, or it is pretty much done. Him and Duncan Castles are some of the two journalists that I'm now adding to my list of credible journalists. Of course, we're having the Romanos on Staines and Ben Jacobs, right? So Alex Crook says that this deal is pretty much done. It will happen. Negotiations are happening, and Chelsea's name bandied around. It doesn't seem like he will be going there. One thing that I want us to talk about, you guys, is that the fee Arsenal are going to be paying looks like we have an agreement on the fee. Okay, Arsenal have already given Shakhtar their ultimatum or their price ceiling. We will not pay anything above 80 million euros. Right, and that's around 75 million pounds, around there. So we are not paying anything above that. So the fee that we are willing to pay has already been told to Shakhtar, and Shakhtar understand this is where the potential buyer is actually standing. All right, and then Shakhtar are not rejecting our money. Shakhtar are rejecting our payment structure. And that is why Romano said yesterday that Arsenal are still optimistic, because Shakhtar are not closing talks. Shakhtar are not setting deadlines. They are actually continuing to pressurize Arsenal into agreeing a better payment structure that actually favors them rather than favoring Arsenal. So this is what's happening. And I've talked about this before. Shakhtar saying, if you're not meeting the 100 million euro mark, you need to give us around 60 million euros up front. Now, I'm not really sure how much money we have to spend in terms of upfront figures. What I know is that we're working with around 50 million in January. So if you're working with 50, then it makes sense why Arsenal wanted to pay around 40 million euros upfront. That is in January, and then the rest of the money can be paid from the summer onwards. But things like add-ons are going to be a very, very huge determinant in this deal. Arsenal could be paying around 70 million euros. But in terms of add-ons, in terms of these other bonuses and achievements that the player will actually get for Arsenal, more money will be pouring into the pocket for Shakhtar. And we're talking about 10 million euros more. So it could be 80 million euros, 70 million euros in guaranteed payments, 50 million euros in upfront payments, and 10 million euros in add-ons. The difference is this. When you agree a deal for 80 million euros and you have 10 million euros in add-ons, it means that there are certain conditions a player has to meet for the team to get that money. So, for example, if Arsenal win the league or get UEFA Champions League, Shakhtar could qualify to get 10 million euros in terms of add-ons, right? Then guaranteed payments means that the transfer will be done for 70 million euros. So it means whether the player does well, whether the player flops or doesn't, Arsenal will be obligated or obliged to pay 70 million euros. Now, the upfront fee or the upfront figure, which is actually confusing many people on the internet, means that if you've agreed a deal for 80 million euros, there is a portion that you're going to pay there and then, right? And that is what Shakhtar are still trying to convince Arsenal about. They're trying to tell us 30% of the money cannot come as add-ons. Arsenal saying we should give you 30% of the whole figure as add-ons, and of course around 40 million euros as upfront payments. Shakhtar saying 20% should come as add-ons. There's no problem, but your upfront fee should be around 50 to 60 million euros. So that is where we are with the Mikhailo Mudryk deal. So what about Chelsea? Where are they, and why aren't we talking about them? Now, we are not talking about Chelsea because ESPN have actually said they only had exploratory interest in the player. Todd Boehly, Graham Potter, and the transfer negotiation team at Chelsea were never willing to pay £88 million to Shakhtar. And this is where I said Shakhtar have actually shot themselves in the foot. If you remember the last show I actually made about Mikhailo Mudryk, I said they've shot themselves in the foot. And this is it. Chelsea are quite very, very smart. And they've used this strategy with Enzo Fernandez. And they're also trying to use it with Mikhailo Mudryk. They've gone and they've promised the parent club a lot of money just to draw them into negotiation, right? They told Benfica that we're going to be triggering the release clause of Enzo Fernandez. Benfica became very, very excited. They were on high alert. They thought they were going to get 127 million euros in January. What turned out to be the difference is that Todd Boehly went in and said, okay, we want to negotiate. It's 127 million euros, a release clause we cannot buy in January. But is there any way we can sign him for 80 million euros? Benfica said no, it's not happening. Todd Boehly said 88 million euros. They said no, 100 million euros. That is our last price. And Chelsea walked away, and Enzo Fernandez will stay at Benfica. It's the same strategy they used with Shakhtar. They knew Shakhtar are desperate. They knew Shakhtar needed someone to pay more money than Arsenal, right? So they went in there. Todd Boehly said, we are going to be matching everything Arsenal pays plus more money. Shakhtar were excited. They flew to London. They talked to the CEOs at Chelsea and everyone, and the talks were absolutely bullshit. To an extent that Chelsea didn't even put an offer on the table. And look, I wanted to laugh, but not at the moment, because we have not yet signed the guy. But when we sign him, I'll surely have a big laugh at Shakhtar, because they've really outdone themselves here. What they've done is they've now gone and announced themselves as desperate, right? Their earlier strategy had actually worked out very well. We don't want to sell. We are not desperate for money. Whoever comes in and has the right amount of money will take the player. But for now, they've actually destroyed that. They've actually destroyed that reputation. They've showed us that we are desperate. For anyone who gives us an extra more penny, we'll give you Mikhailo Mudryk. And Napoli have gone silent. They said, we don't have that money. And Chelsea have also gone silent. They've said, we don't have that money. So right now, Arsenal are giving them the best amount of the best deal on the market. Right now, Arsenal are giving them the deal of the January transfer window. How many players are going to work for 70 million euros this January? They're not so many, really. They're not so many. Shakhtar, no. This is a huge opportunity to get that money in the bank, and I don't see how they turn it down. I'm sorry. I just don't see how they turn it down unless otherwise, right? Unless otherwise. Now, let's talk about Barcelona. Rafinha and the Balde rumors. First and foremost, let's talk about Balde. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that there will not be any talks between Arsenal and Barcelona for Alejandro Balde. The player is signing a new deal, and his release clause is going to be 500 million euros. So he will not be leaving Barcelona. He won't be going anywhere. Manchester City, I think, AC Milan and Arsenal have all been interested in the youngster. I like Alejandro Balde, but I don't see him as a player that Mikel Arteta wants on the left-hand side. If you look at how Kieran Tierney is being taught to play, if you look at how Alexander Zinchenko is being applied in that left fullback role, there is no connection between Alejandro Balde and those two, right? So, look, I think he's explosive as a player. I think he's a very, very nice young lad. If Arsenal signed him, I would be excited, overly excited. But the system that we are actually playing with fits Jordi Alba, not Alejandro Balde, unless he comes in and then he's taught our ways and everything, and then I don't see him leaving Barcelona. Look, for some time they've been looking for that replacement for Jordi Alba, and I think Alejandro Balde comes just in time. He has just come in time. He's got those attributes that remind me of Johan Capdevila at Spain. But look, it will depend on how Xavi wants to use him. But he's a key asset to this team. But the other player that actually has a lot of rumors now is Rafinha. So apparently Barcelona do have financial problems, and one of the players that they will be willing to sell in the summer is Rafinha. Edu is still keeping his eyes very, very open on this deal. But I'm going to say this. If Arsenal get Mikhail MUDRYK in January, there is no room for Rafinha anymore, right? Because Mikhail MUDRYK comes in as a replacement or as a backup for our forward players. And Mo Smith Rowe is back. We did see him in that Oxford game. Oh, gosh, he's got a touch. And you look at him, you look at Mikhail MUDRYK, you look at Martinelli, you look at Saka. There's no way Rafinha signs for Arsenal, especially that is going to be very, very expensive in the summer. So Rafinha to Arsenal, I don't see that happen. I don't want to be excited. It's the same deal with Rice, Serge Milinkovic, those deals in January. Rafinha, I see this one. The next video, I want us to focus on linking a few of these big names, including Ike Gundogan and some of the free agents that are coming up in the summer. Tielemans, Trossard, and a few of them. So in the next video, we're going to be talking about some of the free agents Arsenal are focusing on. I'll see you very, very soon.